Hello, and welcome to the Core Intentions podcast. I'm your host, Asia Johnson, along with my co-host and father, Sydney Johnson. We believe that good business and lasting impact starts with intention, and we are excited to go down the journey of discovery with you. So let's get into it. Perfect. Alrighty, well, welcome to the Core Intentions podcast. My name is Asia Johnson. I'm one of your co-hosts. I also have my dad here as well, Sydney Johnson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Asia. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the conversation today.
I am as well. I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled to be kicking off our second season of the Core Intentions podcast. Just a quick reminder for our audience, the Core Intentions podcast is a platform where we are really excited about showcasing the voices of underrepresented leaders across sustainability, across supply chain, always at the intersection of diversity, equity, inclusion. And for season 2, we are super excited to share more voices. And so we are going to be doing several different panel discussions, really trying to thread the needle across startups, across corporations, and across the ecosystem, and really trying to drive a more holistic and dynamic conversation around impact. So today I'm super excited to have Ying McGuire. Ying McGuire is the president of the National Minority Supplier Development Council, also CEO as well, NMSDC. And we also have Vikas Shah. Vikas is the Chief Revenue Officer at LSQ. And I would love if we can jump into the conversation and have Ying and Vikas quickly introduce themselves to our audience. So let's start off with Ying, please.
Well, thank you, Aisha, and thank you, Sid. What a pleasure to be here. Ying McGuire, CEO and a president for NMSDC for about 22 and a half months. For those of you who don't know about NMSDC was founded in 1972 as a direct result of a President Nixon's executive order to address racial equity. And we're the longest business growth engine for systemically excluded communities of color, Asian Pacific, Asian Indian, Black, Hispanic, and Native American. And we're all about building wealth for the communities of color through entrepreneurship. So glad to be here today.
Thank you so much, Ying. And Vikas, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. And once again, super excited to be here. Lovely to see you, Ying and Sid. Asia, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. My name is Vikas Shah, Chief Revenue Officer at LSQ. LSQ is a fintech focusing on working capital solutions for businesses of all sizes. One of our strategic initiatives at LSQ is to focus on diversity minority businesses here in the US and give them access to affordable working capital financing. I've been personally very passionate about this project. I've been at the company for about 2+ years and have been actively working with a range of partnerships, including Ying's organization, which is National Minority Diversity Council, and several state councils across the country to make sure that we're continue to invest and make this project a huge success here.
Thank you so much. So I really appreciate those introductions because they really speak to why we thought that it would be wonderful to bring your voices onto our podcast. The theme of this particular panel discussion is centered around access to equity. As you both mentioned, you're part of this broader ecosystem of creating solutions for underrepresented communities, underrepresented businesses. There's a huge implication for the work that you're both doing. So I'm really, really thrilled to have that conversation today with the both of you to really just share more about what you're doing and the innovation in the space as well. So thank you so much for those introductions. Jumping right in, I would really love to, one of our pillars that we oftentimes love to highlight on our episodes is technology. I think what we've learned from our first season is, technology can be the great equalizer, but it depends also on who owns that technology, right? Who's developing that technology, who has access to that technology, and really thinking about the users of those solutions, of those products. So I would love to hear from both of you about the technology that's critical to what you're building. So one of the questions I would love to kick us off with is, who are you building for? Who are your key customers for your business and your business model generally?
I'll take that question. So when I first came on board 22 months ago, I embarked on a 90-day listening tour with stakeholders, MBEs, corporate members, regional council, leadership team, and every listening session I asked one question, same question, which was, if you had a magic wand to help NMSDC really can move to the modern century to do better job serving you, what would that be? And all boiled into technology. And so therefore, after the 90-day listening tour, we start to search for the folks who can help us develop end-to-end technology roadmap. And we were very fortunate to get help, pro bono help from McKinsey. So we do have a great technology roadmap. We're in the process of materializing. And your question is, who are you building for? We're building technology for our stakeholders. One, we're focused on accelerating the growth for our minority business enterprises. We call it MBE. So I would say most of our improvements on technology are built for MBEs. And we're also building for our corporate members to ensure that we're providing them with the best value and a customer experience possible. And as we move into the next 50 years, and NMSDC has been around for 50 years, we want to ensure that the experience and the value for all stakeholders and the technology that powers it support our mission of serving as an equity engine for the communities that NMSDC operates. So right now, it's an exciting time. The backbone of our technology is a new CRM system and our new certification tool. And we're going to launch in the coming month, and you're going to be one of the first to see it. That's going to allow us to create a more modern and efficient user experience that will not only assist in making certification easier process for our MBEs, but also enable us to utilize more advanced technologies like AI to make it easier for our corporate members and MBEs to connect and build long-lasting business relationship with each other. So I'm very excited about our journey on technology.
That's actually, I'm glad to hear you say that. As a former chief procurement officer and former vice chair of the board for NMSDC, I can attest to Ying's comments about particularly the technology. And one of the bottlenecks, I would say, in that growth and connecting corporates with MBEs, it was really around this certification process. It was old, antiquated, took forever. So I was really excited to read what you guys are doing around that certification process, right? And taking that, I would say, out of all of the different affiliates and centralizing it where you have a common practice and a repository for that certification. Great idea.
Thank you, Sid, for your support.
And Asia, I'll jump in. I'll jump in as well.
Great.
Ying's comments are spot on. At LSQ, we kind of think about technology innovation as a core fabric of what's possible in this industry, and we are a finance technology company. We spend a lot of R&D dollars thinking about innovation and how to build technology in a manner that can be very game-changing with a user experience that's not really imagined by the industry. We spend a lot of time talking to various stakeholders across the industry, thinking about, what is the next level of innovation when it comes to leveraging all the data that we have access to and be able to use that data in a very targeted manner to serve the business objectives that we have. So technology for us is core, as part of an innovation mindset. And today we are building a market leading platform to help businesses of all sizes, manage their working capital. When you think about what's happening in the macro environment right now, with inflation, with the Fed increasing the interest rates, plus the credit tightening, working capital management has become a core topic, not just for large corporates, but also for MBEs. And we believe that we are in a very, very unique position to be able to serve that market, because all the traditional options are essentially staying behind and not able to innovate in this space. And the traditional lenders, and mostly a lot of the banks that we have around us, are in a very tight situation right now and haven't been able to innovate in this space either. So when you think about working with corporates and MBEs and bridging that gap and giving access to affordable financing, technology is going to be at the forefront. And our innovation in terms of partnering up with corporates, with the National Council, with the state councils, and with a lot of other funders who are interested in deploying capital into this market, technology is going to be at the forefront of it. So, we're super passionate about this. Technology is near and dear to my heart. I've spent the last 20 years building enterprise software. And when it comes to thinking about software and what it can drive in terms of impact to the community, it is definitely an area of huge passion for me and for LSQ.
That's wonderful. I mean, there's so many amazing points and just gems from what you just shared, both of you, about what you're building within your organizations, within your companies, across your teams. And it sounds like both of you are really intentionally building for underrepresented communities, underrepresented owners, MBEs, and that is just so important. I'm curious to learn and kind of double click on that and to understand, how you're intentionally, integrating that focus into your company's missions and your services, and how do those individuals discover you? How do they tap into those resources?
Okay, I'll take that. So there are various ways for MBEs to find us, and one of the ways our corporate members actually often identify non-certified MBEs and encourage them to get certified with NMSDC as they work with them as a vendor partners. And also, as you know, Asia and Sid was a board vice chair of the board, that our 23 regional affiliate councils serve as a local presence and in many ways a first point of contact for many of the MBEs looking to get involved with our network. And finally, we have an amazing team. It's headquartered in New York, but we have a team member now in all 4 time zones at the national office that is doing many things to increase awareness, MBE awareness of NMSDC, including, direct outreach. Earlier you talked about, our chit chat, you talked about that you see us on LinkedIn all the time. Well, that's one of the ways to do direct outreach. And some of the thought leadership, for example, we just came back a few weeks ago. We had a second Minority Business Economic Forum, the thought leadership, branding and the marketing and the community relationship building, and in many other ways. And the podcast such as this is going to help us reach out to MBEs who can discover us and utilize our services. And you asked about how are we intentionally integrating a focus on D&I into what we do. NMSDC is about inclusion, so it is at the core of everything we do. Our goal is to drive social economic equity and generational wealth in communities of color and end the racial wealth gap once for all. So everything we're doing on behalf of our MBEs and our corporate members, it's really driving towards building a more inclusive and equitable economy. From a intentionality standpoint, we have focused on making sure all the communities of color I mentioned earlier are equitably represented in our work. For example, for the first time in NMSDC's history, every racial ethnic minority group we serve is represented on my leadership team.
Outstanding.
And I'm very pleased with that. But furthermore, we also laser focused on identifying and addressing disparities among the communities we serve. For example, I don't know if you read our 2022 Minority Business Economic Impact Report was released less than a month ago. And Black businesses only saw single-digit increase in revenue compared to double digits for the rest of communities we serve. So considering that disparity, the data, we're taking a hard look at our programming and explore ways we can help address this disparity and to ensure all of our MBEs are set up for success.
Yeah, that was a really good report. Go ahead, Gus.
I was just going to say that report was fantastic, Ying, by the way. There was just so much context and insight into what's happening across the communities that you mentioned. It was really, really helpful.
Absolutely, and we'll definitely share that with our audience as well in the show notes. And I think it's the point I wanted to make based on that is that it's so important how you're really rooted in data. That's so important to be able to work backwards from a data point to really, drive the direction of the organization and to set commitments and set goals based off of the data that you're seeing, and you're being very transparent with the broader community about your progress. So that's wonderful.
Thank you, Aisha.
So Vikas, so talk a little bit about LSQ and the things you're doing in terms of intentionality in this space.
Yeah. We market directly to corporates. We also market directly to MBEs in partnership with the National Council and a lot of the regional councils. We have access to MBEs we believe that are looking to grow, are looking to drive revenue with their corporate counterparts, and we market to them to educate them, drive awareness, and to help them with working capital financing. We also market through numerous channels, not just limited to national and regional councils, but we market through banks. We market through a range of financial advisory companies that are already in partnership with these MBEs that have a trusted advisor position at these MBEs, where they can influence these MBEs, educate them on all the different financing options that are available so that they can take the right decision given their situation for their respective businesses. In terms of intentionality, I would say the biggest and the most effective area when it comes to driving equity inclusion across these ethnic groups has been holding the large corporates accountable. So we are intentionally reaching out to these large corporates, especially the leaders of supplier diversity at these large corporates, and holding them accountable to their mission and to their objectives and goals around giving access to minority businesses for programs and projects and business that they would want to drive with them. And we believe that while, yes, we can market to the MBEs directly, but there are thousands and thousands of them across the US, I think the corporates in America can play a much stronger and prominent role to actually invest and commit to projects such as these. And we believe the biggest impact can be driven if a corporate takes a leadership position on this, and that's been very intentional for us at LSQ. We've been very successful in getting attention and commitments from some very large corporates when it comes to providing access to working capital financing for their MBE partners and suppliers, and that's been a huge project for us. I think the other intention from LSQ, for folks who are not very familiar with us, we have thousands of companies as customers in our portfolio. A big portion of them are already MBEs. So we are serving a diverse group of minority diversity businesses that are women-owned, veteran-owned, African-American businesses, businesses of other color that are already working with us, and they help to promote to other MBEs that they interact with. And to that extent, we've already deployed about $1 billion of working capital, since our existence in terms of providing financing to such MBEs. And furthermore, I think moving forward, we have a leadership commitment to deploy an additional $1 billion of working capital, for MBEs across the US. So I think it really comes down to being able to get to those MBEs, educate and drive awareness, and also to drive a lot of these programs through the corporate sponsorships, to make that $1 billion available and accessible to these MBEs, which we very well know are underserved and underrepresented in terms of getting access to such financing.
Congratulations on that $1 billion milestone. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible, and it's super exciting to know that you're just raising the bar and continuing to push yourselves internally to continue to support and challenge yourselves to do more for the community. What I'm hearing just across what Ying and Vikas, what you shared about intentionality and about customers is really meeting customers where they are along that journey, and leveraging different types of communication platforms, partnership models to be able to get in front of those customers and to be able to share how what you're doing can benefit them, which is incredible. I also heard, being transparent about that journey, showcasing results and reporting, and showcasing the numbers and the data, to really, again, hold yourselves accountable. And speaking of accountability, also the cost I heard, holding corporates accountable, right? And holding supplier diversity officers accountable, right? And having conversations with them about their needs and how LSQ can be a partner along that impact journey. So it's just really incredible to hear. Thank you both for sharing and answering that question. I would love to shift a little bit to the partnership model. Again, I really want to make sure that's very clear to our audience, the entire ecosystem of the work that you're doing. So would love if, Ying, maybe we'll start with you, if you can speak more to the power of partnerships and speak more to what NMSDC is doing and leveraging partners along the impact journey.
Yes, Aisha, simply put, without partnerships, our work will not be possible. We really rely on, number one, strong partnership with our corporate members to not only help our MB grow through increased access to contracts, but also through the support of the development program that many of our MBEs rely on. Earlier, we talked about intentionality. At the New Orleans conference last year, 50th anniversary, I saw corporations came in with a lot more intentionalities than they did before pandemic. So great progress there. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, NMSDC is a network made up of 23 regional affiliate councils from across the country. And those partnerships allow us to be active in local business communities in a way that would otherwise be impossible. And also, another large priority of mine since joining NMSDC has been to develop strong partnerships on the best practice sharing with other NGOs, and also on the policy side of things. This not only includes developing strong relationships with government agencies. You saw my LinkedIn posting. I was with several cabinet level aligning those agencies aligned with our work, like the Minority Business Development Agency, the Department of Transportation, Energy, but also with the like-minded NGOs like the National Urban League, like U.S. Black Chamber, National ACE, WeBank, NGOCC, Disability Inc., and Novobo, go on and on, just to name a few. Um, in fact, our partnership with the National Urban League has led to the creation of a tool called a Build Up Local. And it's a one-stop shop for communities of a color to learn about the resources and the programs made available through the bipartisan infrastructure law, Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act. And our third partner is Public-Private Strategies, who's also our government advisor, policy advisor. So the goal through this partnership is to help close the racial wealth gap through inclusive infrastructure contracting opportunities. As you know, we got once in a generation opportunities. The federal government is pumping trillions of dollars into economy. So that partnership allow us to put resources together to support our MBEs to participating in these opportunities.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Ying. I really appreciate understanding a bit more about your partnership model. Obviously, you have many different stakeholders that you're meeting with to help deploy these resources and to really drive, enterprise-wide impact. So thank you for sharing more about that. Vikas, would really love to hear from your perspective the same question.
Yeah, it's hard to top that. Ying continues to inspire me with everything she's doing. So I have to be on my toes here, which is fantastic.
You're so humble. You're doing great.
First of all, I have to thank Ying for LSQ's partnership with NMSDC. Right, it's the largest community and network here in the U.S. and driving so much change and impact, without which we wouldn't be able to drive awareness across the broader community to make our platform, our resources, and our solutions available to MBEs. So I think that's first and foremost. On top of that, as you're all aware, we are also in active partnerships with several of the regional councils. As Ying mentioned, we have picked some major metro areas to drive the biggest impact to begin with. We are in conversations with Chicago, with Michigan, with Ohio, with Florida, with Georgia, with Houston, with California. And we are in active marketing joint projects with all of them to make LSQ platform services solutions available to both corporates and MBs in those regions. We've talked about banks as a very important component of our community. Banks are not just providing national coverage, but they're embedded in our communities. And when we're talking about communities and fostering that collaboration between the banks and the MBs that have access to these community and regional banks, it's really important that we drive awareness there. So we've been in partnership with a lot of regional banks, community banks, to make them aware of the LSQ proposition and originating on their behalf, bringing opportunities to the table on their behalf, where they have a desire to deploy capital, they just don't know how to deploy capital. And in some cases, they don't know how to manage the credit or manage the risk around the credit when they do deploy the capital. So with our finance expertise and our technology expertise, a lot of these banks are partnering with us as a leader in the space to be able to deploy capital on our platform and make that capital available to MBEs. So that's a very important partnership dynamic. And the last one, I would be remiss if I don't mention this one, is partnerships with corporates. That's a massively huge initiative. When you think about a corporate and the thousands of suppliers that they work with, these corporates do have a leadership opportunity to take charge and really understand the supplier ecosystem and segment them in a manner that they understand the unique nuances of each and every ethnic background and diversity of those businesses, to be able to deploy capital, give them opportunity, give them equal opportunity in a manner that they can help them grow. So I think that partnership dynamic is going to be extremely important, and we spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, Vikas. It's actually a perfect segue, because really want to also highlight ESG as this, really important topic that corporates are talking about and are eventually going to have to report on. So I really want to also understand how LSQ is partnering and helping corporates to achieve their ESG goals, and what kind of conversations you're having right now.
Yeah, I think the simple conversation or the simple idea that we are trying to seed across corporates when it comes to ESG is essentially making a early payment or a working capital financing program available to your ESG suppliers. And to some extent, I mean, this is not just limited to ESG suppliers, it could also be DEI, but having a very specific fund available to ESG supplier development is how we're approaching the conversation. And there are many ways to do this. It's obviously the basics around first identifying your ESG suppliers across your ecosystem of suppliers, having a framework around what it means for the corporate to embark on an ESG initiative, and identifying areas of how to recruit, onboard, and certify such ESG suppliers. And once that happens, making financing available and other resources available around capital, around business growth, and around financing to these suppliers is key. So I think it's as simple as that, and I think this allows the corporates to provide options to the ESG suppliers that just haven't been imagined before. It certainly drives the corporate agenda in terms of being a lot more socially responsible and driving ESG. But more importantly, as Ying mentioned, there's a massive initiative across the country right now in terms of investments in all of these areas. And there are MBEs that are ESG focused, and other suppliers that are ESG focused that could avail of this opportunity and be able to serve the broader community. So I think there's a lot to do there. But I think the simple idea really is working with corporates to make such solutions and early payment programs and financing programs available to ESG suppliers.
That's really helpful. Since I work in the social responsibility and human rights space, it's a top of mind discussion point, because supplier diversity and where that falls in the social pillar has been a really interesting topic of discussion. And so I'm imagining you're probably having those conversations on an ongoing fashion, and probably even more so now as the topic of ESG again has become really top of mind for business leaders, and thinking about where does diversity, equity, inclusion fall on that agenda, and how can we leverage partners along that journey.
Yeah, it is a fascinating time right now for sure. And a lot of corporates want to do something here. They just don't know how to go about it. So we're doing our part to help them understand the opportunity and how they can embark on these projects.
Wonderful. And Ying, do you have additional thoughts as it pertains to environmental, social, and governance ESG topic?
Yeah, Aisha, for NMSDC, when it comes to ESG, one thing to think about unique about us is it's about increasing corporate spend with MBEs. Tactically, there are several ways large corporations can help with this work. First, if they're not already doing so, these organizations should join us on our march to 1 trillion in annual revenue for NMSDC certified MBEs by making long-term multi-year commitments to increasing their MBE spend. The other thing is corporations, I encourage them to get outside of the traditionally siloed thinking that views this work as simply a supplier diversity effort. Instead, this is something we talk a lot about at our Minority Business Economic Impact study and at the forum last month in Miami, that corporations need to move to, I would say, broadening supply diversity through business diversity. What I mean by that is that corporations need to take a hard, long look at how they're spending their every dollar and how they can spend more of it with the minority-owned businesses. And this includes looking at all aspects of their business, not just consider not just in the supply chain. Think about who's managing their money, a 401k plan, in the high margin professional services area. And for the corporation, who not engage with us, I encourage them to reach out to us and be part of this network. I'm really grateful to all of our corporate members, but it's not just enough to be a member. It's important to take the next step, whether it's actively, participating in development program or make pledges for multi-year increase on the spend with MBEs. Our larger corporations are best positioned to move the needle on ESG by spending more money with MBEs.
I love it. Ying is straight to the point. That's what we need. I love it. I love it. And Asia?
Yes.
Asia, you better get to your closing 3 questions.
I absolutely am going to get to those closing questions. I am still reflecting on what Vikas and Ying just dropped for us. Just lots of really important takeaways. I'm really excited to share with our audience and to summarize for our audience as well. But we will definitely move into our rapid fire questions at this time, which we really enjoy because it's an opportunity to get to know our guests on the podcast a little bit more about who you are and what you're passionate about and what your impact journey, what your why is, what's core to who you are. So really excited about this last session of our conversation. So Dad, do you want to kick us off?
Well, I it's my favorite question is.
Let's jump to it.
All right, we'll just jump to it. So,
yes.
Quickly, doesn't have to be very long. It's rapid fire. I'll start with Ying and then I'll ask Vikas. Who was your favorite teacher at any grade when you were growing up and why?
I have not gone to school for a long time. So I don't know if I remember the teachers, but I can tell you I have a great favorite coach. Her name is Rose Gailey out of El Paso, Texas. And the reason she's my favorite coach is that she's voice of reason. She always can take a very complex situation and dissect it and break it apart and put back together and provide solutions. So I'm still receiving coaching from her. So I'm very grateful. And this is all voluntary effort too. And so very grateful to Rose. Yes.
That's outstanding. Vikas?
My favorite one is a gentleman named Jojo Jacob, actually, who was my high school art teacher. And I used to bunk my classes and go spend time in the art department because, he was this coolest guy who would sit across, smoking a pipe and just wondering about all things possible in the world. And he was truly inspirational. He helped me through a lot of projects, especially expanding my horizons, exploring all kinds of different medium in the arts department while I was growing up. So if there was one person, I would pick that person, back in the early days.
It sounds like he helped you to dream of the possibilities.
A lot of imagination and creativity is achieved outside of the classroom, as we all know, and during quiet time. And I think about that a lot, even today. when I'm in business and I'm thinking about new ideas and innovation. We talked about that a lot. And it comes back to some of those basic principles.
That's great. Asia.
Absolutely. Great. Okay. I would love to know what is a favorite read of yours or a favorite listen if you listen to podcasts and want to share about a recent podcast that you listened to that you enjoyed.
So I multitask all the time. So when I run in the morning, I listen to podcasts. And one of my
Okay.
favorite is NPR, Guy Raz, how they build it. And I actually want
Great
to,
one.
yes, I want to reach out to him to do a series just with MBEs, NMSDC certified MBEs. But he has
Great
not
idea.
responded to me. Would you help me to get hold of him, Guy Raz?
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We will call a guy out in the show notes, but also when we promote on LinkedIn, and we'll see what kind of response we get. I think it's worth it. I think that's a really important series that so many people would benefit from and really appreciate. So I would definitely support that idea for sure.
For me, I've been reading up on deep sea ocean mining. I'm a mentor to this alliance called Sustainable Ocean Alliance. It's a nonprofit organization that invests in entrepreneurs who are building businesses to preserve the health of our oceans. And I've been reading a lot about this initiative and podcasts and things in terms of their work and campaign against deep sea ocean mining. So that's been my recent project, and it's been fascinating. Just given my passion for the ocean and overall sustainability and everything that I've uncovered that I did not know before. So it's been
Wow.
enlightening for me.
Cool.
Super important. Water is a super important topic in the ESG space as well. So
Yeah,
very, very top
especially,
of mind.
especially if you live in Arizona like I do half the year.
Yeah, there's a bit of a crisis going on there right now. So thank you so much. The last question I have, and if you can maybe summarize it in a couple of words, but would love to know, in the future, you're laying on the beach or you're hiking in the mountains and you're reflecting on your life. In a few words, what kind of impact would you want to leave on this world, and what kind of legacy do you want to have?
Besides, people know I'm the person love food at the most. That I can eat a lot of food. I think I think it's really helped others to realize their American dream. I came to this country with one suitcase, $1,000, limited English. I still speak English, as you can notice, and many people helped me to achieve my American dream. So the impact I would like to leave to this world is to help other people of color like myself achieve their American dream.
Wow.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. And Vikas?
It's a deep question. I've been thinking about it quite a bit. I don't think I can claim to have thought about it entirely, but on similar lines as Ying, I would say, given the importance of our oceans and our planet, and the fact that we have one planet, at least so far, that's habitable, we I would love to see my impact and legacy around that topic in some fashion or the other at a global level, and large corporations who continue to grow larger and larger and larger, have a moral responsibility to think about it and act on it. And if there's anything I can do to influence that, I think that would be hugely satisfying for me to leave behind.
Nice.
That is wonderful. It really kind of nicely also summarizes, I think, this conversation. We think about accelerating, capital and having access to capital to really go, work on those big, global challenges and existential issues that we have that we all need to be a part of. I really appreciate you sharing that with us today. And thank you so much for Ying and Vikas for coming on to the Core Intentions podcast. We are super excited to share this episode with our audience and look forward to bringing you back on the podcast at some point in the future. So thank you for the time.
Hey, it's an honor. I enjoyed it. It's great.
Yeah, thank you guys.
My pleasure.
Very
this
much.
was amazing.
It was outstanding, and having the two of you together was really good. I loved it. So thank you.